Yoga and Buddhism are two Eastern philosophies that have been around for several thousand years. Buddhism, known for its emphasis on meditation, has many elements of yoga incorporated into its practices. Yoga, known for its postures and exercises, is actually a meditation tradition that teaches many of the same fundamental principles as Buddhism. Many who are familiar with Buddhist culture will see the Buddhist influence in yoga, and similarly, those who are familiar with yoga will find much yogic influence in Buddhism. Despite their similarities, yoga and Buddhism are two very different belief systems. After seeing all the similarities between these two philosophies, one may wonder what actually sets them apart. The first step to answering this question is to draw an accurate picture of what true yoga is. Yoga is described as a meditation tradition. Its goal is to calm the mind and create the cessation of mental disturbances. Performing these goals allows the individual to achieve stable meditation and reach higher states of consciousness. The ultimate goal of yoga is to liberate the soul from the worldly suffering and the cycle of life and death. This liberation is found by fully understanding the true nature of reality, or through the transcendence of desires, accompanied by the perfect control of the mind, body, and the emotional self. The Bhagavad Gita, a sacred Hindu text written in the 4th century BC, describes 4 ways to achieve this liberation. These 4 paths, given the name mokskas, are 4 main varieties of yoga. Each moksha has a different focus that leads one to salvation. Jnana Yoga, said to be the culmination of 2 other sacred Hindu texts, the Vedas and the Upanishads, stresses the importance of knowledge in the path to enlightenment. Raja Yoga outlines an 8-fold path that uses meditation as the means to nirvana. Bhakti Yoga centers itself on devotion towards a god, and Karma Yoga finds the completing of actions without personal attachment towards the outcome as the means to salvation. The first text to explicitly describe a school of yoga was the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, written in the 2nd century BC. This Yoga Sutra is the foundation of Raja Yoga. Yoga in the Western world is known mostly for its postures, used by many as a source of exercise. True followers of yoga believe that Western yoga is watered down and shallow. They believe that the postures and exercises only aid the true focus of yoga, meditation. In fact, only 3 of over 200 of the sutras written by Patanjali mention any kind of posture. Most sutras discuss the theory and results of meditation methods and studies. Although these sutras were written in the Hindu world and use many Hindu and Vedic terms and philosophies, there are no Hindu or Vedic practices described in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Raja Yoga, mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita and then described in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, employs a system of 8 limbs that directs one towards reaching nirvana. It is also referred to as Ashtanga Yoga and 8-limbed yoga. The first limb, Yama, describes all of the abstinences one should have in their life, such as violence, lying, theft, illicit sex, and possessions. By abstaining from these things, one avoids the arising of negative karma. Niyana, the second limb, are the observances a yogi should obey, such as purity, contentment, austerities, study, and the surrender to God. Commitment to these things builds positive energy and satisfaction within. Asana, the third limb of Raja Yoga, are sets of seated positions and postures that are meant to dissolve the negative energy in the body and replace it with positive energy, or life force. Although these tend to be the focus of Western yoga, they are only meant to be an aid for meditation and a form of physical purification. There are 2 main kinds of asana, Hatha Yoga and Kundalini Yoga. Hatha Yoga includes sets of standing postures and exercises that stimulate the mind, body, and spirit. Originally performed to prepare practitioners for higher training in Raja Yoga, it is commonly studied in the West today for its health benefits. Kundalini Yoga aims to learn to control the life energy and use it to stimulate the 7 chakras, or energy centers, found in the body. This is done through various exercises, vocal words and sounds called mantra, breathing patterns, concentration, and meditation. The 4th limb of Ashtanga Yoga is called Pranayama, or breath control. The breath is considered to be one of the most natural ways to reach higher consciousness. Pratyahara, the 5th limb, is following the true nature of the mind. When this is done, the senses are cut off from their objects, and everything is said to be perceived as energy. Concentration, or dharana, is the 6th limb of Raja Yoga. It is described as being able to control your mind to be single-pointed, which is where the attention is fixed on one single object. When concentration is mastered, one can achieve dhyana, or meditation, the seventh limb of Ashtanga Yoga. Meditation is described as being able to bring the mind, body, and spirit completely to rest. During meditation, the goal is to learn about the supernatural nature of being and find complete liberation. Mastering the previous 7 limbs and discovering the true nature of reality leads one to the 8th limb of Raja Yoga, called samadhi, or a state of liberation. This is considered a state of superconsciousness, or trance, where the practitioner directly experiences the void, referred to as nirvana. Another one of the mokskas, jnana yoga, emphasizes knowledge as the path to enlightenment. The Sanskrit word jnana, translated as knowledge, is implied to mean the knowledge of the true self. Some say it is seeing yourself everywhere, or to realize that you are one with Brahman, the concept of infinite consciousness or the collective soul. They believe in the unity and oneness of the universe. Jnana Yoga teaches that there are 4 pieces of wisdom needed to reach salvation. The first, viveka, can be described as what is existent, Brahman, and what is non-existent, everything else. The second, vairagya, is the ability to detach oneself from everything that is not real. Shad Sampat, the third concept, is a collection of 6 qualities or aspects that one should possess. These are being able to control the mind, the senses, a resignation of all things that are not work, endurance, faith, and perfect concentration. The final concept, mumukshava, is the honest yearning for liberation of the consciousness. The philosophy behind Bhakti Yoga, another moksha, believes that enlightenment can be reached by possessing a true and sincere devotion to God. The motive behind this form of yoga is to melt the ego into God in his purest form. They believe that God is responsible for all change in the world, is the source of all work completed, and is a force acted through people as love, light, and goodness. In this sense, they believe that genuine pristine intention and love are the most powerful forces in the world. Bhakti Yoga was initially described in the Bhagavad Gita as one of the 4 mokskas. Karma Yoga, also established in the Bhagavad Gita as a moksha, describes a path to enlightenment that consists of spending one's life performing unselfish actions for the greater good of others. They believe that they should act without concern for what the outcome gives them. Accomplishing these actions of good karma eventually conveys one to liberation. Yoga and Buddhism are very similar in several ways. A Buddhist who studies yoga will see the Buddhist influence in their practices. Similarly, a yogi who studies Buddhism will see the yogic influence on Buddhist philosophy. Both yoga and Buddhism are practices of meditation as a way to find liberation or enlightenment. They both believe that realizing the true consciousness, or reaching nirvana, can be reached through high meditative states by dissolving the ego. They also believe that we are all connected through a system of dharma, meaning truth, or natural law. Examples of dharma are the belief in the unity of all living things and the role karma plays in one's life. They are considered to be the natural rules of being. Yoga and Buddhism also teach many of the same ethical lessons. This is expected, considering that both yoga and Buddhism grew up in a system of Hinduism. Common ethics between these 2 religions are nonviolence, truthfulness, non-attachment, non-stealing, and the cessation of desires. There are several core beliefs that set yoga and Buddhism apart. These are differences in philosophy and several important concepts. In general, Buddhism has a practical viewpoint on issues that is based from the teachings of the Buddha and the trust in one's own experience. Sacred text does play a role, but not one of greater importance than the experience. They believe that everything is a creation of the mind. Yoga is more abstract, defining its philosophy with sacred texts such as the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita. They believe in a complex system that includes a self, a creator, and a divine being, as described in the texts. Although the goal of both yoga and Buddhism is to reach nirvana through the means of meditation, there is a slight difference in what that nirvana is. In yoga, it is described as a perfect peace, freedom, and liberation, as the awareness of the infinite and eternal self, and as the union of being, consciousness, and bliss.